When I get this question, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I always like, come on, man, I can't even know. I don't even know like what's gonna happen in next month or 2 months. How can I answer that question?
Hi friends, welcome to the Metacast Roundtable by Naavik. Today I'm joined by David Amor, CEO of Playment, you know David, and Matej Lancaric, user acquisition and marketing consultant and founder and host of 2.5 Gamers.
Oh, thank you very much.
Nice to be here.
Nice to be here, yeah. And it's quite refreshing for me not to do the intro actually to the podcast. Amazing.
Give your podcast a plug. Is it all about UA and mobile?
Yeah, it's all about UA, ad monetization, game design. More like sharing the insights from our day-to-day jobs actually. So something that we encounter on like a weekly basis, and it's kind of like a pain point for other companies.
Yeah,
yeah. You touched some really relevant topics.
Very cool.
Thanks.
How you been, Maria?
Me? Yeah. I'm good. I just came back from Essen, so I was in a board game conference.
Board game conference? Okay.
Yeah, I go full-on nerd. It was good. It was actually really, really fun. But then I realized I played too many worker placement games, and my brain now doesn't know what to do. How are you doing?
Good. It's been a busy month. There was a Bitcraft Founders Summit in New York, shortly followed by a Play Ventures Founders Summit in Singapore. So I've been irritating my family by being away from home quite a bit in the last month.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was it useful?
Yeah, super useful.
He can't say it wasn't,
No, no. Hey, this isn't about founders events. This is about getting out of bubbles, right? So you're in the bubble, talking to the same set of people all the time. And it's just super useful to go and talk to a different set of people and hear what's going on in their world, what's important to them. Sometimes, it's nice to find commonality in the same sort of problems that you face and have a beer with them. And, Singapore is a country that I'd never been before. And that's an incredible place. Really good. Yeah. And also super crypto native. So, we're doing the weird end of Web3. And when we describe what we do, often when I describe what we're doing, it's met with confused looks from people in the West. But when I was in Singapore, I was treated like a king. It was great.
Nice.
It must be good for a change of pace to just get that off the bat appreciation for what you're doing.
Yeah, no, it was a great trip.
Nice.
And on a note of happiness, it was World Mental Health Day on Monday. So I hope everyone did something of treat yourself, as they say in Parks and Rec.
Can I bank it and do it on Friday? Does it work like that?
Yeah, it totally works like that.
All right, I'll do that.
If it's still in the same week, it's fine.
Okay.
So today we have the chief UA expert Matej with us. So we're going to do a UA focused episode. We're going to be talking about SKAN 4. SKAD 4. I don't know, Matej. You have to teach me how I say the acronym.
SKAN 4.0 actually.
SKAN 4.0. And we're going to be discussing, is it going to resolve all of the iOS post-ATT issues? And we're also discussing why channel diversification is important in user acquisition, and wrapping up with Unity's mobile blockchain gaming insights. That was a post after the Pocket Gamer Connects Helsinki.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's is it a mobile heavy episode? Matej is the guy. If anybody's here to ask, then we got the right guy. So, as I said, I'm very much an observer here. I'll weigh in with opinion, but I'm ready for the pearls of wisdom from the two people.
You've been in the industry for a while, so you know what we're talking about.
All right. I'll blag it.
I brought some extra stuff prepared. I think yesterday I put Rihanna playing, and then I was going to prepare one topic and I did 4. I don't know. I just entered this zone, but I'll reserve them to the end. I just want to make a massive announcement. This is the most important announcement of this week. Meta's social VR platform, the avatars, are going to have legs now.
Oh, the public get what the public want.
Yeah, it was apparently their most requested roadmap feature. Can I please have legs?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I made a whole game once with where we were pretty self-published games, so we were careful on budget, particularly careful, and we were trying to figure out how to cut costs, and that was one of the ways. And nobody had a body from the waist down, and we got away with it. And we just made sure the camera was always pointed up. But
that's actually incredible.
Wow,
nobody knew. It costs time and money to make those legs. I understand where Zuckerberg's coming from.
Facebook is pouring so much money into the VRs. Come on.
Yeah, they should be able to afford the legs.
Yeah.
Sure.
And one of the topics is I looked into what happened potentially with X Hero, because we did an episode about X Hero on mobile, and then it was gone from the App Store. So that was a bit disappointing.
It's back.
Well, it's back, but it deleted all of my progress. So I'm not sure I'm very happy.
Wow. How far did you go in that game? I mean, I played like 10 minutes just for like research purposes, and then I just closed it immediately.
I got about unlocking halfway of the city. So I didn't fully finish the onboarding experience. But anyway, that's for later if we have time, because we need to focus on our main topics. All right. SKAN 4.0. Yeah. Okay, I got that acronym right.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to give just a flash context as to what we're discussing. So in the developers conference in June this year, Apple published some documentation about the next version of their SKAN network. So this is Apple's privacy-focused attribution solution that existed before ATT. But it wasn't very good, so people wouldn't use it. But then they were essentially forced to start using it because ATT was enforced iOS 14.5, which was released in April of 21. And it meant that users had to now opt in before companies could use their IDFA for ad tracking. There were some problems with SKAN that still exist, and hopefully they'll be resolved with a 4.0 version. One of the problems is that it provides a single anonymized postback, and the single postback is very limiting for products that have complex conversion flows, such as mobile free-to-play games, because you have multiple steps to give you those signals of the conversion and the long-term LTV. There was a random timer on receiving that information of the conversion reporting, which meant that it was very difficult to create predictable models based on install cohorts. And there's a very limited set of campaign IDs. And UA performance marketing is all about ABN testing. You're testing different creatives, you're testing different bids. And by having a limited set of campaign IDs, it means that you can do less testing. And there's also a privacy threshold where if you don't get a certain number of installs, I think, Matej, you can
I can tell you what.
That you wouldn't get any data back because it basically you didn't have enough data for Apple to say, oh yeah, we can guarantee privacy in giving this.
It's Apple didn't actually say what is the magical number, but it's based on the UA channels. For Facebook is 88 installs per campaign per day. On TikTok is 90 installs per campaign per day. Then on Google, I think it's 100, and then there is Snapchat, which is 75 installs per campaign per day. So you pass the privacy threshold. If you don't pass the privacy threshold, you won't get any postbacks. You won't see anything that is happening on your campaign level.
How do you know what the magic number is?
Well, there are certain ways how to find out. But no, like the UA channels actually post that on their guidelines for these type of things.
Right.
And, I read a lot and I write a lot as well. So, I need to be on top of the game.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked out Matej's blog, do check it out. As well, you essentially kicked off the X Hero frenzy, I think.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
And just to complete the intro, so some of the SKAN 4.0 features is that now you'll be able to receive multiple postbacks. I believe there are 3 postbacks in different lengths since the install. So it means you can get a bit more insight into the conversion. However, for privacy, it means that you cannot link these 3 postbacks to the same individual user. So I'm not sure. I think we'll dive into a bit whether this is going to solve the problem of a single postback. It also they also releasing a feature where now the privacy threshold, instead of being all or nothing, there will be different thresholds. So you'll at least get some data. And then as you get higher through the threshold, you'll get all of the data that you expect. They're also expanding the number of the campaign IDs and expanding the properties that you can assign to them, I believe.
Yep.
Tracking parameters, that's what they're called. And they're also introducing web to app campaigns, but only for Safari.
So can I jump in here?
Yeah.
And make sure, I'm going to be the Luddite here. It's been a while since I've done mobile free to play, so some of this is going over my head. I think is this true that Apple are introducing a new version of their attribution system that means that for people that are saying that I'm happy to be opted in, and it's a more sophisticated version of allowing companies to figure out what ads are bringing in their best players.
This is actually for those who didn't opt in. Actually, this is the other way around.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's anonymized information about what is a sort of more restricted version of what we had before, but it's still telling game makers which ads are bringing in the better quality players. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not going to be on ads level, but on the campaign level still. So even now, UA channels are using like modeled conversions on the iOS side. So if I want to check performance on the creative level, it's still modeled, so it can be basically anything, and not true. That's what I see.
Can you dig into that? I don't fully understand. What's the difference between the campaign and the ad level?
Well, the campaign level is, you have campaign and different levels of the campaign. So campaign is the first layer. Then you have ad groups or ad set levels where you can put different targeting options. And then there is a third layer, which is a creative layer. So usually you look at campaign level ROAS, so you can see like what kind of money you can get from the campaign. But if you want to dig deeper into the performance, then you want to see which targeting is performing better under the campaign, or which creative is bringing more money into your pocket, basically. And if you look at this on iOS, it's not very much accurate. Let's say that way. You have, thanks to Facebook algorithms and the Google's algorithm as well, modeled conversion. So it's kind of what Facebook thinks this creative is bringing you. So it can be true, but it can be also like very, very not true. It's like it's somewhere thanks to the Facebook algo. So you can believe what Facebook is telling you, or you can't, because you don't know if it's true. But I usually rely on those modeled conversion because there's no other way, unfortunately.
And that was a problem that existed before the app tracking transparency change.
Before, we had all the visibility that we have now on Android. So basically, I could see on Android what kind of creative is performing the best, and it's not modeled. It's actually true ROAS on the creative level, which is not possible on iOS. This was possible before the ATT happened, and even with SKAN 4.0, this is not going to be possible. It's just you're going to get more postbacks on the campaign level, which is, it's good, but it doesn't solve all the issues. But it's definitely like one step forward, because now it's kind of limited. You need to know what's happening on the first 24 hours or in the first 24 hours. Now you have 72, or then like something between the 8 and 35 days for the third postback. So that's definitely better for the performance evaluation. But now that kinds of triggers different problems and different headaches, because now if you have first 24 hours, you just want to maximize the first 24 hours in terms of getting as many information from the game to UA channel as possible. Let's say you are optimizing campaigns for purchase. So you want to get as many purchase events as possible in the first 24 hours so you can optimize the campaigns. Now it's going to be 3 days or 8 days or 35 days. So it's the whole evaluation process is going to be prolonged for this type of purposes. But that's going to help mid-core, hardcore games that are not able to monetize as quickly as the other games in the first 24 hours.
So this will put less of the emphasis on having to convert players as early as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I would still do it because for now, well, for me as a UA manager now, it works super well. So I can see really good performing iOS campaigns thanks to the fact that I'm more closer to the game teams as I was before, because we need to figure this out together. So obviously, like, to get as many payers as possible in the first 24 hours, it's not easy. I don't want to just mess up the economy because, well, of course, I could maximize the first day, and then what would happen? The economy would crash afterwards, which is not ideal. So that's why we need to try to find the sweet spot, and that's how we work with the game team very closely.
So what are your overall feelings about SKAN 4.0? Sounds like it's not going to solve all the problems. Do you think we're going to see some support in terms of performance? Because I think a lot of companies have been struggling.
Of course. I mean, the SKAN 4.0 won't solve all the problems, and also like some companies will still struggle. I was always optimistic about iOS changes, and I'm still optimistic now, even more with the SKAN 4.0. So yes, we will gonna get more information on the campaign level, which is nice. Definitely helps. Again, creates different kinds of headaches for me, because I need to wait for the data longer. Now I just could most probably just look at like first day, maybe day and a half, 2 days, depends on the conversion schema and the conversion window. And I know you mentioned like the prediction models that were not as effective as they could be. On the other hand, I've run pretty good campaigns or pretty profitable campaigns, and using prediction models on the day, on like first 24 hours. It's still possible. I mean, it's never going to be super accurate. That's how it is at the moment. Evaluation got really hard, but it's still possible for a lot of companies. It just requires like hard work and extra time.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
When I speak to other mobile companies, they've and I didn't talk to tons, but they're talking about the fact that they've seen a drop in revenue through ATT and the inability to target spenders accurately, or at least inefficiencies in targeting, which have happened in the last year or so. Who do you think? I mean, I guess how much does this help that, and who are the winners and the losers in this? Not just about this update, but just more generally. Is it the inability to target whales you would expect to affect some companies worse than others, and how do you generalize that?
That's the thing. So even now, some companies in the social casino space are doing quite well. Of course, they do more retargeting, but even on the UA side. So it's just you are setting up the conversion schema, which is based on revenues. So you have these like bits and brackets. So you have 64 bits on the conversion schema for revenue, and it's 64. So every bit is like $1 bracket. So you have $64, and if the purchase happens within these intervals or in these brackets, it's going to be sent to Facebook, and then you can actually use value optimization for targeting whales. So the targeting options went from like interests, lookalikes, to actually event targeting, which you can then target whales. These companies or these brackets, it's actually up to you how you can define. So if you see your players make purchase, let's say they spend 1,000 in the first 24 hours, you put that in the bracket. In that case, you will get that information back to Facebook, and you can use it for the campaign optimization. So it's transfer from the usual traditional way how you can target people with different targeting options to event-based targeting, which is more data-oriented. So yeah, I think companies with bigger data teams will definitely win. I work with some smaller companies, they don't have the data teams. So if you don't have the data team, you can't use media mix modeling, incrementality tests, and then prediction models on the day one. But you can easily look at what you were getting before you started spending, and then what you are getting now with like some level of spend, and you just compare the differences between spend and the incremental revenue or additional revenue. So it's blended ROAS. I know it's not super accurate, but for smaller companies, there's now no other way, unfortunately. It's just, you need to be brave a little bit and experiment.
Yeah, but being brave and experimenting is a lot easier in a big company with a revenue stream than it is smaller companies. So it feels like it benefits bigger companies.
Yeah, but if you're a small company and you need to solve it, then you need to do whatever it takes to actually make it happen. Because if you don't solve it, then you are in big trouble. Because relying only on Android, it's most probably like not the best scenario.
Yeah, you mentioned that there are ways to go around the current constraints and still find modelings to allow you very similarly. Yeah. So before the ATT changes, a similar level in terms of the performance marketing. Do you think that the mobile game developers who just went, okay, we need to put the past behind us and just figure out these new ways rather than hoping that, for example, updates to the SKAN technology would allow them to reuse the strategies of the past?
Well, no, most probably no. I mean, what worked like 2 years ago, it's not going to work now and not going to work in the future for like 100%. It's not going to happen. So if you're still trying or still hoping for anything that happened, anything that worked in the past, that it's going to work now, please stop immediately. Try to adapt as soon as you can. I mean, that's like the beauty part of the game industry. Like, we are kind of going through a change, whatever change out there, like almost every quarter. So we're good in adapting. So just try to, speak to other developers. It's also very nice in the industry that we try to share and help each other. So just ask others like how they do it, or ping me. No, jokes around. No, really. I mean,
it's really waiting.
Helpful. Yeah, it's really helpful for like, talking to others.
Yeah,
I'm always optimistic about iOS. I can't help it. Really.
Do you think the pace of change in strategy was as fast before 14.5, so post ATT?
14.5, yeah.
Yeah. Was it as fast before that you had to continuously change strategies in UA, or has it accelerated nowadays?
I think it accelerated like this year when everything changed around this 14.5. Everybody just, not everybody, but like most of the companies stopped spending on iOS because they couldn't evaluate properly. Which on one side is, it's a smart move. On the other hand, like those players and payers didn't disappear. They're still there. You just need to find a way how to actually get them and target them and acquire them. Which is now people are started to talk about like it's like iOS UA is still possible. There are still like companies that say, well, we can't run profitable UA, and they're making this the ATT as their excuse how they don't or can't run it, unfortunately. But it's just hard work. Just that's it. No, there are companies that are really like can share that it's actually possible to be pretty profitable on the iOS side, and it's working even better than Android because it's not that competitive anymore.
Do you have some? Sorry.
Yeah, because again, like we're getting back to the fact that still some companies are not spending that much as they would spend before, so the competition is lower, and I can see on some games lower CPIs and better ROAS numbers on iOS than I can see on Android because it's not that competitive.
Do you have examples? I don't know if you can share this. Examples of companies other game devs should be looking at? I'd love to learn more about this. Who should I go and explore?
Yeah, well, nobody shares this too much publicly. But if you if you go for a drink with some fellow developers, they will share. They will share a lot as well.
these conferences David is going to. Is this what you're doing, David?
Exactly.
The drinks.
Yeah. The conferences, it's all about, getting get together and just talk about the issues and the solutions.
And my view is that UA never stays still anyway. I remember interest targeting that turned into lookalike targeting, that turned into event targeting and value-based targeting. And that, I sort of left mobile free to play at that point, but then IDFA and ATT. Now, this seems like a big one, but it won't be. It always seems to be changing in some way all the time. Keeps things interesting.
I've been hearing UA is dead for like the last 4 years. Like every year, it's like, oh well, now UA is dead. It's like, come on, give me a break.
UA is a zombie. We should just accept that.
It's more probably just going to evolve into something else. A beautiful butterfly.
Aww. Well, I suppose that's why a lot of companies are also moving to Web3. And David, do you have to deal with these decisions in your startup? Well, is it a startup, Playment?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway.
Well, a couple of things. One, I think it depends what you're doing, and there's quite a breadth of different things happening in Web3. What I hear a lot of talk about, I'm sure Matej has an opinion about this, is wallet targeting. So, particularly in the light of the privacy IDFA things that are going on Apple, then by way of contrast, if you hold your assets in a wallet, assets being cryptocurrencies or NFTs, then those wallets today are completely open. You can query that and you can see, what a fantastic dream this is as a UA person.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You can see in a wallet, you can see what they spent and when, how long they spent on it, how much, everything. Like
what kind of assets they have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's perfect.
Everything. Now, of course, a sort of gap in that is that you might be able to see those wallets, but you don't know who owns those wallets. You certainly you can't associate an email address. You can't message them. You can airdrop something to them, but it doesn't mean to say that they'll act on it. So to me, this is like a lot of people talking about that as a solution to some of these UA headaches. Not, and maybe Web3 is interesting partly because there's a new method of reaching targeting players now. But of course, to me, there seems to be an unsolved gap, which is, sure, you can look at their wallets and see what their spend patterns are and see whether they have an affinity with the game that you're building. But how do you message them? How do you actually get them what's the call to action there? So there's a gap, but it's a tantalizing one, right? Because if you could solve it, then that's a whole new kind of UA.
Oh, yeah.
Is there analytics technology or performance marketing technology? Is there anything that you can type in, find all of these type of wallets and do this to them, and then I can track if they use the thing at eardrops to do something?
Probably
else?
not. We're in a stage in Web3 where people are still building this infrastructure. So it's like, I don't know if it's year 1 or 2 or whatever, but anyway, it's early days. So I think there's a bit of a scramble to try and build interesting technology. The same with analytics, like an interesting aspect of analytics in Web3 is that you can query anything that's happening on the blockchain with if you go to Dune Analytics, which is the sort of go-to Web3 analytics tool, then you can query everybody's game. It's not just your game, but you can look at the performance of other people's games, which is not through Sensor Tower or through App Annie, but just by querying on-chain data. So it has some weird elements that the design of blockchain is to be an open ledger. So by design, it's supposed to be transparent. You can see who's doing what, even if it's anonymized wallets. So it's a sort of tantalizing new form of UA and new form of analytics. Everything works a little bit differently currently in Web3. There may be EU legislation that said, yeah, sure, you can look at wallets, but you don't get to do that anymore because that's, maybe there's legislation that pushes against it. I don't know, but it's certainly slightly different in Web3.
But then you have DAP right there, and you can check like what the game or like how does the game actually perform. But then it's not that like totally true because it's like only measuring like wallets. So what about the other players?
Well, I mean,
How does that work?
depends what the game is. So if it's a game that requires a wallet, then you can see all of that wallet activity. I think Decentraland.
That's exactly what I'm referring to.
so the story that Matej is laughing about is the fact that Decentraland, that are valued at 1.6 billion or something like that, had a wallet activity, daily active wallets of 28 or something.
38. It's
38.
Still super small.
And their pushback was, actually it's 8,000 DAU. It's just the majority aren't doing wallet activity, and you're measuring wallet active. I'd still say that 8,000 DAU is
still pretty small.
Yeah.
But you're right, which is that it's only that sort of analytics is only able to measure people that are using their wallets with a game. And if your game doesn't require that, then maybe you don't get to see it.
Yeah, because I imagine a lot of games are going the 2.5 route. And not fully on chain, where some elements are on chain, but the rest of the elements are not.
Yeah, and even in there's some good UX reasons for not throwing a wallet in somebody's face as soon as they start playing a Web3 game, right? It's not a great UX experience. So maybe by design, even if it's a very Web3 heavy game, you want to find a method of not requiring players to have a wallet as step zero.
If Anil were here, he could take us all through his Blast Royale onboarding flow next time. So I was wondering, your topic is channel diversification, Matej. Yeah. Is that one of the solutions in terms of these new strategies that could be beneficial?
Yeah, I think this specific article, well, even though I was mentioned in the article as my case study, I have some problems with it because it's not only a solution to like iOS. I don't want to say solution because I think this is going to be a trend, and I've been talking about this for a lot of time, and my co-hosts at 2.5 Gamers are laughing at me every time I mention it. But it's actually true because now I see the landscape is shifting from using one or two big UA channels and spending heavily on Facebook or Meta or Google towards using more channels with smaller spend. And this article suggests that, like, thanks to the ATT and the UA UA performance dipped, and small developers struggled, which is true, but on the other hand, not that much. And like the UA diversification should be more about your goals and the ROI you want to achieve. So if you are looking at, let's say, short payback period, which is anything from 30 to 60 days, or maybe even 7 to 30 days, then most probably spending a lot of money on one channel is not going to work, because as soon as you start spending more, then you can get from like your niche target audience, then you're opening up the targeting, then the payback period is actually prolonging always. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 daily spent, you can get the money back in 30 days. Amazing. If you do 2,000 a day, you are widening up the targeting, and then you will see the money back in 90 days. Not 60, but 90, maybe 180. This can actually, like the UA diversification can help because then you're spending 1,000 on Facebook, 1,000 on Google, 1,000 on TikTok, and then in total you're spending 3,000 a day, but you still can achieve that 30-day payback period. So that's not only for iOS, that's also for Android. I mean, it's not only like platform oriented. It's all the UA, and that's what I think it's going to happen, and I think it's already happening thanks to Facebook decreasing quality in the last year. Now developers are shifting towards different channels, and of course, if you find better performance on different channels, then you will spend there. So what this article also says about challenges, like the ad monetization based on the ads in the game, kind of like those developers struggled. Yes and no. I know we discussed it with Felix that even if you have the ATT prompt in the game, you can actually capture 40 to 60% opt-in rates and get the IDFAs. Therefore, like, earn more money on these type of players because, well, you have IDFA, and there are different tricks how to improve those opt-in rates even to 80%, for example. So Yeah, of course. I mean, it's all about the testing and trying to get as much as possible from the or even pre-prompt, because you showed that to players like, hey, we are a small developer, please help us give you targeted ads and make a better experience for you. There's like some messaging you can use that can help you increase that. So those like days where everybody said it's the ATT opt-in rates or the IDFA opt-in rates around like 20%, it's not true anymore. It's 40 plus on some games. Of course, on some genres it's maybe around 20, but still, hyper casual, those guys are still like good. They're running good business even after ATT. So let's put it that way. And then,
I just want to say that I always opt in. For the sake of the industry.
Of course, I do that all the time.
Me too.
Of course. I do that all the time, of course. Even I when a game wants to send me push notifications, I say, okay, yes, you can do that.
I don't get that far.
Yeah.
I want to see what what kind of messaging they are using, so I can use that for research purposes.
Yeah,
so I can use that as well. But this article by AppSummer actually also suggested that UA performance dipped, as we discussed, because of a lack of data science teams. Well, sure, if you don't have a data science team, it's harder. But if you're a small company, you can also look at blended data. Most probably, you won't be able to grow the budgets as if you had the data team, because you are on your own. But you can still do it step by step. You add one UA channel, you measure the performance or the revenue increase in 2 weeks. If you see you are actually able to increase the revenue, you can either increase the budget or add another UA channel, and then again 2 weeks period or 3 weeks or whatever you want to measure. If you are able to increase the revenue or the revenue difference, if yes, perfect, then you stack up another channel. I mean, it sounds very easy because I've done it before, but of course, I understand it's not that easy for a lot of companies.
Yeah, because different types of creatives, I believe, perform better or worse in the different channels. Yeah. For example, I know that TikTok, from what I've studied, needs completely different creatives to, for example, what you do for Meta. So
yeah, that's what everybody said. That's what everybody said.
Is it not true?
Look at the Survivor.io case. They had 0 real people in their ads, and they were able to spend quite heavily on TikTok, with a lot of money going back to their pockets, because we've seen the growth of that game. They're making 1.5 million a day, and that's only from in-apps. We don't see the ads, unfortunately, which I think it's somewhere around 1 million at this point. And there are 0 people in those creatives. So yes, that was something that everybody was talking about like a couple of months ago, maybe a year ago. Now, whatever works on different UA channels, and you have a winner creative, it works on TikTok, Google, Unity, or whatever you have, because it's a winner creative and it performs well. So it will perform across the whole channels.
What kind of creative? Sorry?
The winner one, like the one that's performing the best of all the creatives you have.
Oh, I see.
The winning one.
The winning one, yeah. So, of course, if you put people inside or use the UGC type of creatives, it can help the performance. But if you don't have that, just use whatever you have from different channels and start with that. I could see now it's performing well. And there's also like one case study, or if you talk to TikTok, they will say there is a best practice. If you use a gameplay, it's a couple of sequences from gameplay, you will see a higher conversion rate to install, and then better ROAS afterwards. So it's shifting again from this UGC oriented type of creative. So you don't make creatives, you make TikToks. I'm laughing at that so much. That just now it's definitely a different landscape, or even on TikTok.
Why has it changed? Because all of the studies that I read is about companies saying, oh, we tried to use the same creatives we use on Google and Meta, and then they didn't perform, and so we stopped exploring TikTok.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of companies are writing these case studies. If you're looking into like agencies writing these, then obviously you need to have a context or like a motivation for writing these type of case studies, because then you need to understand. So we need different creatives for different UA channels, of course, because that's more work for us. So we need to charge you more. There you go.
Wow.
So you need to read between the lines as well.
And in terms of picking what channels, when I used to do this, I suppose I went through the apps flyer list of best performing. That
they just released the performance index, the 15 one. I usually do look into this, but I have like 3 or 4, let's say, best performing, or the ones that I start with always. I bitch about Facebook and the performance. I still run campaigns on Facebook, but then Google, Unity, and TikTok are the top 4 for sure right now. On iOS, Facebook and TikTok is performing amazingly well.
Interesting.
Why do you think it's potentially taking companies a long time, even well-established companies? I don't know. This is all hypothetical. From moving from investing the majority or the budget into Meta, Google, and is it Apple search ads as well that you're saying?
The article suggested you should spend, if you don't spend up until 250,000 monthly, then it's Facebook, Google, and Apple search ads, which in gaming space, Apple searches don't work that much. In app space, amazing. For games, not that much. So even like for iOS campaigns, I would suggest Facebook, Google, not at all. It's not performing that well. You have 5 days delays of data, and nobody wants to wait 5 days until you see the data. So that's why I use Facebook, TikTok, and Unity. Google, on the other hand, on Android performs super well. So I don't have any problems with that. But on iOS, not that much.
So do you see companies being reticent from moving from these big channels into networks, the smaller networks you were talking about?
Well, if you're a big company, then you most probably tested out every UA channel out there. It's just about what kind of goals and ROAS numbers you have in mind, or KPIs you want to hit, and how patient you are, or like how hard you need to work to make the UA channel work as well for you. Because of course everybody can say, okay, I spent 50K on Unity and it doesn't work. Well, how can you say that? I mean, it's not like black and white. You need to work, you need to optimize, you need to then use different optimization types on the campaign side. So not using only mobile app install optimization, but also ROAS based optimization. So that's the value optimized campaigns when you target purchasers. Then you can do different optimization on the sub ID level, which means that's the targeting on the ad networks. So instead of running interest campaign on Facebook, you have sub ID level where you are showing your ads in different games. So then you can exclude the ones that are not performing that well, and then just increase bits to get more traffic from the ones that you see pretty good performance.
Well, I honestly gain such respect for user acquisition every time I hear someone talk about it.
I mean, I always say it's super easy to set up the campaigns because, of course, I mean, you can set up the campaign in 10 minutes. But then what?
Yeah.
If something breaks, what would you do? That's the most interesting part and the most exciting one. And that's why before you joined, I said to David, like, I love campaign management. I still love to get campaigns executed because it's amazing. It's great. It's a great experience. I love it.
So when you say work hard, it's experimenting different types of creatives and also different types of campaign setups in the different channels.
Exactly. Yeah. Because these like channel diversification, that's like one big topic. You can then diversify even within the channel itself. So you have different types of campaigns. So if your game monetizes on ads and in-apps, you can run purchase-based campaigns, but also ad-based campaigns. So you're actually optimizing for ad watchers and actually using the value you can earn on the ad monetization to target like ad whales, if I can call it that way. So that's always like within one channel, you can have multiple optimization, multiple campaigns. And also not only this, but you can run value optimization, purchase optimization, different events, optimized campaigns, and even the mobile app install optimized campaigns, which are the basic ones. So like there's like the whole tree of possibilities you can do even like within one channel. So that's why when I hear like, oh well, we tried that and it didn't work. Like, what do you mean? What exactly didn't work? Like, tell me. And then when we try to find the things that didn't work, did we find ways what worked? And then just, move to that direction, because of course it's not easy to unpack everything.
Oh, Matej, thank you. That was all super insightful.
Well,
we already
stop me now. I mean, I'm on. This is great. I mean, I love to talk about UA, of course.
I know that we're coming to the last 15 minutes of the episode, and David, we were going to talk about Web3 UA, but we kind of already did that. However, part of your topic was also some insight into predictions of Web3 coming to mobile.
Oh, I mean, I feel this isn't really a story. I just noticed somebody, a friend of mine on LinkedIn, who was at Pocket Game in Helsinki. It seemed like the sentiment were, one of the comments there, one of the, people do these reports. I always find them interesting. What's the vibe there? And one of the points in that she wrote was, hey, I think a lot of people have seen that Web3 is 5 years away at the earliest. And I'm thinking, that's a surprise to me. That's like, obviously there's a bit of selection bias. If you go to a mobile event, then people are going to not in a hurry to tell you that, hey, I'm working in the wrong part of the industry. Equally, if I go to a Web3 event, then people are saying, oh, I probably should be making mobile. So there's definitely some selection bias there. Maybe there's just something interesting in the fact that two different forms, two pretty different opinions there across different parts of the games industry. And I don't think anybody in Web3 games is saying the market is here right now, but I don't think they equally, I think most would say that the market is closer than 5 years away. And as I said, it was just a small comment on a report, but it just sort of highlighted a difference there. And I suppose we're seeing like about, in terms of investment in startup games companies, probably $10 billion a year going into startups, which is, so certainly investors are placing a big bet in this category of the games industry. And I would expect most of them not to be expecting product market fit to happen earlier than 5 years away. So, an interesting point, that, what do you think about that, Matej? You've got your foot, I want to say you've got your foot firmly in Web2 mobile. Even that's a dismissive comment, isn't it? Sorry, I apologize about that. What I'm trying to say is we're in slightly different parts of the games industry. So what do you think of that thought?
No, I think what's happening now, I think you mentioned before we started recording the Web 2.5, which now like all the mobile companies, not all, but a lot of mobile companies have the crypto layer or like Web3 layer on top of it. Because what I think, Web3 is great, and I'm really interested in like what's happening there, but from my point of view, it's not scalable that much. So that's why a lot of Web3 companies are now, some of the companies moving towards the mobile with level of blockchain in their games to be able to actually hit the, let's say, the mass market in quotes, the mass market or more players. Of course, you build community, but that's like thousands of players, not millions, I guess.
Yeah, and I suppose I've never really got to the bottom of how much Apple has changed their policy on this, and maybe you covered it in previous weeks, but certainly
they wanted to cover it, but never happened, right?
Oh, we did. We covered it. Okay. We covered it last episode. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed
it.
But
Apple has not formally made a communication, but a lot of people are reporting you can sell NFTs if they are purchased through fiat. You cannot purchase through crypto.
Which I don't think is a huge change in any, doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they take 30%.
Yeah, so I suppose a lot of, and this is what you're saying, Matej, a lot of people that are making mobile games not quite seeing that positive return on ad spend. They're saying maybe we can get an uplift from embracing some Web3 ideas, and that sort of, ending up maybe not being Web3, but Web 2.5 or something. So I'm seeing quite a lot of that, and I don't know how effective that is. And
I think we will see. Well, because everybody's talking about it, but I haven't seen a game to a certain extent that actually utilizes this that much. At least not now. I mean, we'll see what happens in Q4, but I'm not sure if that's like.
Well, I think the most traditional, most games companies that saw investment, Web3 investment, happened middle of last year and onwards, and it takes a while to make a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe from the middle of next year, you're going to start seeing the fruits of those investments that happened in the middle of last year. Hang on, this year. You know what I'm saying? It takes a while to make a game.
Yeah.
But, and whether that's mobile or desktop or whatever. So, interesting. To me, 5 years sounds like 5 years in video games is a long time.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
And if that was their sort of optimistic view on how quickly this would happen, then wow, that's certainly a differing opinion from other people I speak to in the industry.
Yeah. When I get this question, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I always like, come on, man, I can't even know. I don't even know like what's going to happen in next month or 2 months. How can I answer that question?
Yeah.
And in Web3, I mean, like 5 years, come on. That's no. Everything's changing like every month, basically.
I guess there's some things that work on a slower timeline. Like I wouldn't bet against VR and AR. And yet the speed at which that market's come to be something interesting is slower than people imagined. And I imagine the metaverse, whatever that is probably on a slow timeline as well. So maybe things move at different speeds.
Yeah, well, Meta announced their new headset, not to change topic. They cost $1,500 USD.
Wait until you hear the cost of the Apple one.
Yeah.
Oh, but it has 2 hours of battery life.
No,
Wow.
that's good, is it?
No, it's,
no idea.
It's not good. It's not good.
Do you know how long these snap glasses last for? They're 15 minutes.
Are they really?
So 2 hours is okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it makes 2 hours sound great.
Everything's relative.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think I don't think I can fully make up my mind in terms of how successful Web3 games can be on mobile until I see an example going to market and trying to scale. Because having a game available for players to play and how many players you can bring in without tapping into mobile UA, where you're relying on the Web3 and the community building and just organic UA in a way. Or I don't know if community building is organic. Probably not.
Yeah, not that much, but
but versus
you can have some help from the marketing perspective.
Yeah, I'm curious, how much do the onboarding and the FTUE flows in terms of the wallet and the setup and the account and trying to onboard players who don't fully understand what an NFT is or why it's important that they're getting the actual asset instead of just having a character? Is that going to be detrimental to the attempts of scaling? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, there's like what you would say is that there's 100 companies, or whether it's at an infrastructure level, like trying to solve some of the wallet problems you described there, Maria, or whether or not it's content, whether it's the games. There's just hundreds of companies all having a run at that, very talented companies. So the idea that one or more wouldn't break through and figure some of this stuff out seems unlikely to me. And I'd put it in a shorter time frame than 5 years.
Do you think we're going to start seeing a lot of, because you said there was investment in this year and back end of last year, and it takes a long time to make games. Do you think that we'll see an acceleration of games being released next year? Or do you think it's going to take at least 2023 for building, and then 2024 is when we might see that?
No, I think we'll see games next year that are built by people that have experience in making games and have properly implemented crypto elements rather than Web3 elements rather than just bolted on as a method of improving LTV. I think maybe first or second half of next year.
Okay. Right, we got 5 minutes left. Do you want to talk a bit of X Hero? Is there more to dig into Web3?
I don't think there is like that much of things that we can discuss with the X here. I mean, it was took out from the store because of some interesting things happening on the side, which I was reading into one article that they said that it was taking players to like third-party websites when they had to spend. I mean, I don't know, like how can you be forced to spend more money on the website? But whatever. And then the players didn't get a lot of refunds. Well, they didn't get any refund, basically.
Yeah, that's why I saw players claiming fraud, that they didn't get any of the items they had spent for. And then when they reached out to customer support, they got banned. But this is just the player's perspective, because I read on another thread that the developer had a serious bug in terms of the IAPs. And some players exploited it, and that's why they got banned. Who knows what the truth is?
Yeah, nobody knows, but it's back up. I saw it today. So let's see how the growth continues, because they made like $7 million last month, which is incredible when we compare it with their like 50K a couple of months ago. So it's an interesting growth, but I'm not sure like how that's gonna grow this month. Most probably not that much, since they were out of the game for some time. But then we'll see what happens until the end of the year.
When you looked into it, did they have Epic Heroes Save Animals on Android?
They didn't have that when I was looking into the game. It was only iOS. They added Android, I think, a week after I posted the case study.
That makes sense, because when I analyzed it, it wasn't there as well. And now it's, instead of Save the Doge, it's the animals. Then you have the Doge and some other animals, but it's still the same idle RPG game. I don't know what to make of this. I've been trying for the past 2 weeks to create an opinion on this. I come to the episode still, I don't know what's going on.
And what's funny about this is you shared earlier that you got like halfway through that game, and you're sore about the fact that you lost your progress when it came back again. So it seems to me you spent a lot of time you're halfway through a game, but still haven't quite made an opinion about it. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I shared my thoughts on it, and when we did the X Hero, I like to play it a bit more just to understand the progression a bit further in the experience. I was just more, how do you call it, disappointed, because I wanted to continue slowly checking in how the game was doing and experiencing it. And I found it surprising that they just deleted my save. And I don't know if other players have gone through that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happened to others as well. I mean, it's still a very weird case that's happening.
The mystery continues.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward. No, I just want, I wanted to dig way deeper into this game, but then I couldn't find it on the store. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. But then if this continues to be live and I want to just play, try to research more and deconstruct, like, how is it possible that this is making so much money? I mean, I already know why and how. I want to see if it's sustainable, because all these fake ads are just, or the trends are changing so fast. So this is based on like TikTok trend. So if there is a new trend, I assume they're going to change it again in the game, because that's what happened to Mighty Party, Hero Wars, and Top War and Kingdom Guard. That's what happened. So now I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen to this game.
Are we going to have a part 2, Matej's blog?
100%.
Nice. I look forward to reading that. All right. Well, if you want to add anything to the conversation, you can find us in the Naavik Discord. And David, Matej, thank you so much for joining.
Good to be here.
Thank you very much. It was amazing. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.